Welcome back. You're watching the continuous coverage here on DD India of Operation Sindoor. Justice is served. India's retaliatory attacks to the Pahalgam terror attack. India targeting 9 locations in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, targeting the terror infrastructure operating there. Indian aircraft dropping missiles on the terrorist infrastructure camps in Pakistan and POK as well. We've just finished hearing a formal press conference here in New Delhi on Operation Sindoor. The briefing was given by Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri along with 2 officers of the Indian Armed Forces, the Air Force and the Army, detailing Operation Sindoor, how it was carried out, what were the targets and the operational details of the operation codenamed Sindoor. We'll get you all that in just a bit, but first let me quickly go across to my colleague who is standing by. Before that, let's play out the sound bites from that all-important press conference. Take a listen.
Terrorist camps were targeted and successfully destroyed. Over the last 3 decades, Pakistan has systematically built terror infrastructure. It is a complex web of recruitment and indoctrination centers, training areas for initial and refresher courses, and launch pads for handlers. These camps are located both in Pakistan as well as Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir areas. Some of the well-known training camps are located, as you can see on the screen. They are distributed from Savai Nala in the north, counting to approximately 21, ending at Bhagalpur to the south.
And in that briefing on Operation Sindoor, India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri said that upon investigating the Pahalgam terror attack, communication notes of terrorists in and to Pakistan has come to light.
Investigations into the Pahalgam terror attack have brought out the communication notes of terrorists in and to Pakistan. The claims made by the Resistance Front and their reposting by known social media handles of the Lashkar-e-Taiba speak for themselves. Identification of the attackers based on eyewitness accounts as well as other information available to law enforcement agencies has also progressed. Our intelligence has developed an accurate picture of the planners and backers of this team. The features of this attack also tie in with Pakistan's long track record of perpetrating cross-border terrorism in India, which is well documented and beyond question. Pakistan also has a well-deserved reputation as a haven for terrorists from around the world, with internationally proscribed terrorists enjoying impunity there. In addition, Pakistan has been known to willfully mislead the world and international forums, such as the Financial Action Task Force, on this issue.
Furthermore, Foreign Secretary Misri said that it was deemed essential that the perpetrators of the attack were brought to justice.
It was deemed essential that the perpetrators and planners of the 22nd April attack be brought to justice. Despite a fortnight having passed since the attacks, there has been no demonstrable step from Pakistan to take action against the terrorist infrastructure on its territory or on territory under its control. Instead, all it has indulged in are denials and allegations. Our intelligence monitoring of Pakistan-based terrorist modules indicated that further attacks against India were impending. There was thus a compulsion both to deter and to preempt.
The Foreign Secretary noted that the attack was deliberate to undermine normalcy in Jammu and Kashmir. He added that the family members were deliberately traumatized and were threatened to convey the message of that barbarism.
Family members were deliberately traumatized through the manner of the killing, accompanied by the exhortation that they should take back the message. The attack was clearly driven by the objective of undermining the normalcy returning to Jammu and Kashmir. In particular, it was designed to impact the mainstay of the economy, tourism, with a record 23 million tourists visiting the valley last year. The calculation presumably was that harming growth and development in the Union Territory would help keep it backward and create fertile ground for continued cross-border terrorism from Pakistan.
Speaking on the attack in Pahalgam on 22nd of April, he said that Pakistani and Pakistan-trained terrorists associated with Lashkar-e-Taiba launched a barbaric attack on tourists.
आज सुबह जैसा कि आपको ज्ञात होगा, भारत ने इस तरह के सीमा पार हमलों का जवाब देने और उन्हें रोकने तथा उनका प्रतिरोध करने के अपने अधिकार का प्रयोग किया है। यह कार्यवाही नपीतुली, नॉन एस्केलेटरी, आनुपातिक और जिम्मेदारीपूर्ण है। यह आतंकवाद की इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को समाप्त करने और भारत में भेजे जाने वाले संभावित आतंकवादियों को अक्षम बनाने पर केंद्रित है। आपको यह भी स्मरण होगा कि 25 अप्रैल 2025 को संयुक्त राष्ट्र सुरक्षा परिषद ने पहलगाम आतंकवादी हमले पर एक प्रेस वक्तव्य जारी किया था, जिसमें आतंकवाद के इस निंदनीय कार्य के अपराधियों, आयोजकों, फाइनेंसरों और प्रायोजकों को जवाबदेह ठहराने और उन्हें न्याय के दायरे में लाने की आवश्यकता पर जोर दिया गया था। भारत की आज की इस कार्रवाई को इसी संदर्भ में देखा जाना चाहिए।
And he noted that India had given inputs about the resistance front in the half-yearly report to the monitoring team of the UN 1267 Sanctions Committee in May and November of 2024, bringing out its role as a cover for Pakistan-based terrorist group.
It is notable that India had given inputs about the TRF in the half-yearly report to the monitoring team of the UN's 1267 Sanctions Committee in May and November 2024, bringing out its role as a cover for Pakistan-based terrorist groups. Earlier too, in December 2023, India had informed the monitoring team about Lashkar and Jaish-e-Mohammed operating through small terror groups such as the TRF. Pakistan's pressure to remove references to TRF in the April 25 UN Security Council press statement is notable in this regard.
All right, let me go across to my colleague Shubhendu Ghosh, who is joining us from the newsroom. Shubhendu, what more can you tell us about that all-important press conference addressed by Foreign Secretary and two officers of the Indian Armed Forces?
That's right, Ramesh. Hugely significant press conference just concluding a short while ago by Foreign Secretary and two lady officers of India's Defence Forces. First, the symbolism of it is not lost on anyone, Operation Sindoor. And here we have two lady officers giving details of how the operation was carried out. The beginning of the press conference was also important. Visuals were playing out of the manner in which Pakistan has been a terror bed, mostly acting against India for the past 3 decades, from the Parliament attack of 2001 to the Mumbai terror attack to the attacks on the security forces in Pulwama and Uri. All those were demonstrated and listed, and thereafter the press conference starts and it is shared the manner in which India has exercised its right to defend itself. 9 targets, terror targets in particular, were identified and destroyed by India. The overnight operation happened early hours today. 5 of those targets in POK, 4 in Pakistan across the border. So in that sense, one of the largest operation of this kind undertaken by the Indian forces. But what is also important is to underline that the target of the Indian forces were the terror camps. It was a precise, accurate surgical strike that was targeting the terror camps. The civilian targets were not touched. They're very careful also not to target any military installations. These were only terror targets. Jaish-e-Mohammed, Hizbul Mujahideen and Lashkar-e-Taiba, UN, US designated terrorist groups who operate from Pakistan, and the manner in which their fronts have also been targeted. India, TRF, the name that has come up, the resistance front, which is seen as the front of Lashkar-e-Taiba, particularly active in Kashmir, trying to create communal tension for past some time. India had given information to UN about it as well. And we see how these terror groups operate through their fronts. One, they're designated by the United Nations and sanctions are put against them. So in that sense, a very clear, measured target. Also the kind of weapons, ammunitions were used. There was a reference to it. Very advanced, for precise targeting. Such weapons for use, details of which we do not have at the moment.
Right.
It could be anything from drones to precise cruise missiles, but that press conference really threadbare, telling us the manner in which and the reason why this particular operation was taken forward by India.
Right, Shubhendu, stay on. I'll come back to you momentarily. Let me take a moment to introduce our guest joining us on this continuing coverage here on DD India of Operation Sindoor. Joining me in the studio are Lieutenant General Sanjay Kulkarni, former Director General Infantry of the Indian Army, and Professor Rajan Kumar from the Jawaharlal Nehru University in New Delhi. Gentlemen, welcome to this special broadcast here on DD India. General Kulkarni, if I can come to you first as a soldier, as someone who has served in the Indian Army. We just heard that press conference by Foreign Secretary Misri and the two lady officers of the Indian Armed Forces. Your sense of the big takeaways from that much anticipated formal first briefing on Operation Sindoor, General?
Thank you, Ramesh. A big relief, a real big relief, because since 22nd of April, there was so much of expectation from the people that we must strike, because I thought this was one Pahalgam. If there was a fallout of it, was a united India that wanted revenge from the kind of terror activities being done from Pakistani soil onto India. All along, Pakistan has been in a mode of denial, never accepting it, that they were the ones responsible, that if there was hub of terror, it was in Pakistan, and it was Pakistan which continued to use terrorism as an instrument of state policy. I think even if one heard at any point of time the families of those who died on the 22nd of April, probably feel relieved that the government has done what it promised, that it would ensure that justice would be done. All perpetrators will be brought to book. However, it is just the start. The start, why do I say? Because we still have to find out who are those who actually executed, because they are from Pakistan. There is one, of course, who is from the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, Adil, who is from a localite from there. But the aim is to find out who did it, why they did it, and what still promotes this kind of an activity. Like the Foreign Secretary was candid enough to say, well, normalcy is something which Pakistan cannot digest. They cannot imagine and believe that so much of normalcy in which they have invested tons and crores of money since 1947 till date to create that environment, and somehow the people over in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir seem to be united against Pakistan for the kind of terror activity they are doing. And secondly, it was trying to do away with what is the source of income of the people, tourism. I think in both these aspects, Pakistan has thoroughly failed. And the jihadi chief of the army staff of Pakistan, I think he is the one who's orchestrated Pulwama when he was the DG ISI, and of course now since he's the chief of the army staff. And unfortunately, as in fact it should have been the other way around, but I use the word unfortunately because Ziaul Haq, who said that we must bleed India with 1,000 cuts, is from Jalandhar. So is Asif Munir, who orchestrated the Pulwama, as also Pahalgam, is from Jalandhar. And the one who believed that they were all these people were heroes was Musharraf, who was from Chandni Chowk. So imagine all three who have a lot of roots in India are called Muhajirs in Pakistan, are the ones who have done and brought this to.
Right, Professor Kumar, I'll come back to you in just a minute. Allow me a moment to cut across to Prime Minister Modi. Of course, we are told that we'll have a message again for the benefit of viewers tuning in. We'll come to that in just a bit. But you're coming back to you, Professor Kumar. Your big takeaways from that press conference addressed by the Foreign Secretary and the two lady officers.
I think it was very well done in terms of symbolism. Two women, because this was also an issue of family, the way families were traumatized in the terrorist attack. The spokesperson Vikram Misri, along with these two wing commanders, both of them women, also from two communities. So they kind of send a very a signal that India is united and India will fight the act of terrorism, and the actions which have been taken, the kind of statement and the messaging which was done, that is very precise, is measured, and only the terrorist camps were targeted, and it is also a non-escalatory in nature, which means India is not trying to escalate. India has targeted the terrorist camps, and that was the motive, that was the objective, and India has displayed its capacity to take action, to decide and take action, and in a very precise way. So I think a very powerful message to India, but also to the international community, where India is saying that India has not targeted the military installations in Pakistan. So it's saying that if you say that these terrorists are responsible, so we are taking action only against the terrorist. But if you want to escalate, we are ready for that. So India is prepared. India is also communicating very powerfully to domestic as well as international constituency. So in my view, this was expected and this was very well executed also, with clear videos now available. So the evidence, everything is there. And one more important thing, Rameshji, I would like to say that civilians have not been targeted.
Right.
So only terrorist camps have been targeted, the perpetrators of the crime in Pahalgam.
Indeed. General Kulkarni, what stood out for me among the many things in that press conference was proof, evidence of India carrying out those strikes at 9 locations in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Irrefutable evidence, real-time videos of those missile strikes on the terrorist infrastructure. Should this or would this put an rest to all the speculation going around, misinformation, disinformation from all quarters?
I think Ramesh is very unfortunate. I am surprised even after Balakot, when these kind of voices were raised within the country that shows proof, and some said so many things, we can't even want to say all what they have said, but definitely what you've said is absolutely right. This time they just don't have proof, probably their mouths are shut, and they would have seen the kind of destruction that has been caused, because we have high-tech cameras fitted on, and we know exactly what's happened. And even Pakistan, the Prime Minister of Pakistan also tweeted it immediately after 2 o'clock after this incident, that India has stuck and that we would retaliate. That's a different story, that India has stuck. So there was not that we were not saying that we did it, it is they who said it. And so did the DG ISPR from Pakistan. He also said that India has stuck and that they would do what they wanted to do. Notwithstanding that, I think what I understand, that about 70 odd people are also probably dead and have been seriously affected. And all these places, especially of Hafiz Saeed, Masood Azhar, Lakhvi, all these places have been used very, very strongly from Pakistan, supported by Pakistan, funded by Pakistan. You can't get land in India so easily, and these people have 20 acres and 18 acres of land totally for this kind of an activity, and in Punjab. And let me tell you, like what Professor Rajan just brought it out, we have actually not touched the civilian targets. We have not touched the military targets. Had we wanted to, we could have blown off the 31 Corps headquarters at Bahawalpur. But it's not very far from there. It's not very far from there. And if you can take on that, I think that's a great this thing. It was not just the messaging, but trying to convey to Pakistan, we know exactly what it is. Do not be in a mode of denial, and to be able to tell the world that some amongst in the world there are countries which are wanting to stand with such countries which have nothing to give to the world other than terrorism. And at least here India has been able to show, and I think that's a very good thing. Pakistan has been shamed, has been isolated, has been made to feel, I hope they do, rather than it would be better in the interest of Pakistan that they come out openly, like the defense minister did say, that for the last 3 decades they have been they are the ones responsible for terrorism. The foreign minister Bilawal also admitted that we have a past. So that is all clear, and all this is indicative that what restraint, I must say, what tremendous amount of precision in which the armed forces and all three have worked together. That synergy is seen, and I think the jointness is seen. And time and again, briefing to the Prime Minister, briefing to the Cabinet Committee of Security, the briefing to the Raksha Mantri, all of it is probably visible. And every moment, every this thing has proved that so much of restraint and so much of within the ability to be able to deliver, the aim has been achieved. Pakistan, I hope, realize and understand they do more of it. They may now be starving of water very soon. And now this also is there. So kinetic action, which people in India were looking forward to.
True.
I think that has also been executed and in a very fine manner without causing any damage to civilians or to the military establishment of Pakistan.
Indeed. So Indian statement making it a point to emphasize that no military or economic or civilian targets were targeted under Operation Sindoor. Point taken, General. Professor Kumar, another point that stood out from that press conference was Foreign Secretary framing India's Operation Sindoor in the context of a preemptive move and a deterring effect. So to preempt possible attacks or anticipated attacks from Pakistan and to deter further attacks. How would you, view or characterize this assertion by Foreign Secretary to preempt and deter Pakistan?
Well, this was in the context because some of the Pakistani side, probably one of the ministers or somebody made the statement, or the terrorist groups made the statement that what happened, this will happen again. So he was saying that you cannot have this kind of situation that you attacked the innocent people and then you are threatening again that this is going to happen. So deterrence, preempting is in that context, that I'm preempting the possible future strike, and deterrence of course for the past as well as for the future. So I see that the statement, and also he said that the TRF, the resistance force, this issue was raised in the multilateral forum of United Nations in 2024. It was not that Pakistani army didn't have information. Pakistani army was given precise information that these are the groups which are planning some kind of attack on India, but as expected, Pakistan refused to do anything. Pakistan is always in the mode of denial and blaming India for everything else. Even yesterday something happened in Balochistan and Pakistan was blaming India, and India has absolutely no role to play in there. But so that message and that action, action speaks louder than words. So the action what has been taken, I think that was precise, that was needed, and we cannot say that Pakistan would actually be deterred, because Pakistan, we have seen that in the past, but again we have to be ready with certain kind of counter terrorist actions, and this also includes diplomatic isolation, but again some kind of military action on the ground.
Indeed. Professor Kumar, General Kulkarni, do stay on. Let me quickly go across to my colleagues who are reporting on this ever since the news broke early this morning, local time. Joining me right now is my colleague Akshay Dongre. Akshay, you covered that press conference in New Delhi by Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri. We are discussing in the studio with our guests about the big takeaways from that much anticipated press conference. What stood out for you in your mind, the big takeaways from that conference? And if I might ask you, Foreign Secretary mentioned the word proportionate. He says Operation Sindoor was a proportionate response to the Pahalgam terror attack. What did you make of the emphasis on proportionate? I mean, can we expect India to, for argument's sake, use disproportionate force if Pakistan continues with its misadventures going forward?
Well, Ramesh, something that stood out as far as this press conference is concerned is the fact that how different India is from Pakistan. How different are we from a terrorist state like Pakistan that not only breeds terrorists but also feeds them, funds them, trains them, and then lets them loose on others countries, on civilians, on unarmed people, and how the response to that has been, as you rightly mentioned, it has been calibrated, it was calculated, it was proportionate. So something that we saw in this press conference was an evidence that was given by India to Pakistan and to the rest of the world that the action that has been taken by India is not an act of war, it is not an act of escalation, it is a non-escalatory attack that has been carried out only against terror infrastructure. So from the 5 spots, from the 5 locations where attacks have taken place inside Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir, proper videos and photos have been provided during the press conference even before the officials and the officers started to speak properly, in video format and in photographs, it was showed that the target was so and so. It was attacked for this and this reason. For example, areas where Jaish-e-Mohammed have been running terror camps in Muridke, where Ajmal Kasab and David Headley have taken training, from where 2611 was orchestrated. Those specific areas have been targeted and have been destroyed. For sure, Pakistan also is aware of this, that this was a proportionate attack, and if India wanted to cause maximum harm, then there was no stopping India. It was already inside Pakistan. It already had missiles logged onto the targets, and if it wanted catastrophic devastation, then it would have just fired onto the civilian areas. But why did the press conference happen? It was to tell the world that India is different from Pakistan. We do not attack civilians. We do not attack civilian infrastructure. We do not even attack an army that vouches for blood of another country, of their neighboring country. We are talking about General Munir, who has been talking about communal lines, and in all probability who orchestrated the entire Pahalgam attack. So even military infrastructures were not targeted by the Indian Armed Forces. Precision attacks were done only to destroy the terror hubs, the terror infrastructure in these particular areas, in Muridke, in Sialkot, in other areas as well. Wherever there were terror launch pads, functioning, those areas are only attacked, and video evidence as well as picture evidence have been given along with the history of those areas where the attacks have taken place. So as far as the difference is concerned, as far as what stood out is the attack, the response by India is not to cause any kind of civilian casualties or any kind of harm to ordinary Pakistani. It is to destroy, dismantle terror infrastructure that the world has been ignoring and Pakistan has been nurturing. Back to you, Ramesh.
Indeed. Also joining me is my colleague Shubhendu. Shubhendu, we've seen the briefing give a detailed information on the exact location that were targeted by India as part of Operation Sindoor, including in Muridke, Sialkot and Bahawalpur. Importantly, these locations are just across the international border as opposed to the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. What did you make of the rather elaborate briefing with visual elements incorporated in that briefing, including real-time videos to make it incontrovertible and definitive evidence of India carrying out those strikes from which few can actually deny or renege from?
Ramesh, as I answer your question, I want to tell you we were in the newsroom when that press conference started. Everyone with bated breath waiting to hear what was going to be said. And as is the case in most newsrooms, the set of television sets that we have showing national news channels and international news channels. It's important that it's not just the people of India who were waiting to hear what had happened, but channels across the world had cut the press conference live. The world was waiting to see what had happened. We've known that in the aftermath of the Pahalgam terror attack, there's been an outpouring of solidarity, of condolences messages for India and for the victims from across the world. Incidentally, it happened when Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, was visiting India. So in that sense, the world was looking at the manner in which India would respond. Different things were being said about India's right to defend. Some powers would talk about peace, negotiations, finding a solution through talks. It was very important, therefore, for India not just to tell the world what it had done, but also why and how. This evidence-based approach that we see, the details of which were presented in the press conference, is a testimony to the manner in which India also wants to send that message out. And we see the press conference being done in English and Hindi alternatively, so that there is no room for any confusion anywhere in the country or in the world as to the kind of action that India had taken, a measured action targeting the terror camps, repeatedly saying that the target were not civilians, the targets were not any government or military installations. So in that sense, a very specific targeted attack on the culprits of the terror attack that happened in Pahalgam, but that is just one in the series of many over the decades that Pakistan has been targeting India with. In that's an important messaging going out. 9 targets identified by India, as you mentioned, 5 in POK, 4 in Pakistan, also speaks volumes about the manner in which this infrastructure, the terror infrastructure, has been groomed all along the borders or the international border or the line of control with India, with the single purpose of trying to create mayhem, destruction, killing in the country. In that sense, Pakistan's disproportionate obsession with creating instability in India, it's demonstrated by the manner in which those camps were identified. There must be many more. This is the first phase of the operation. We'll have to see where it goes from here. Will there be any escalation from the Pakistan side? Will this lead to a greater conflict is something that we cannot comment on at the moment. But an important messaging by India, and that message going across very clearly to all the people in the country, across the border and around the world.
Indeed. Shubhendu, thank you. My colleague Shubhendu Ghosh reporting there from the newsroom. Thank you. Appreciate it. Right, we still have with us our guests, Lieutenant General Kulkarni and Professor Kumar. General Kulkarni, in your early intervention, you spoke about how this was an intelligence-based operation and that the casualties could mount in the hours ahead. Some estimates suggest that 70-odd people might have perished in those strikes. Is it important from an Indian perspective that, possibly some high-value targets could have been taken out, or is that not a consideration as of now?
See, Pakistan knew that there would be a strike.
Okay.
Why I say this, the very fact that the Chief of the Army Staff flew his family out from there has indicated that he knew that there would be repercussions from India for what he was perpetrator of. And therefore, the retaliation was there. Every now and then you found somebody or the other from Pakistan would say attack is coming within 24 hours, somebody would say 36 hours, and that was carrying on. But they didn't know when the attack would come. But notwithstanding that, I think definitely, even if they were dispersed, not knowing when the attack, the leaders, trainers, recruits, who all were forming a part, would have definitely been caught. And this also deters from further followers of theirs who might want to join them, seeing when they see that this is what would happen and there is no way and the end is like this. So I think this does deter, and this deterrence is a most essential thing. The aim of all this is to convey a message to Pakistan that we will not tolerate terror, zero tolerance for terror. If Pakistan continues to perpetrate terror and then go around the world saying they are victims of it, then what Mrs. Clinton told them very clearly in 2013, she came as Secretary of State and told them that, look, if you have snakes in your backyard and you expect only your neighbors to be bitten by them, then I'm sorry, they will bite you one day. And therefore now the same snakes have come to bite the Pakistanis, who themselves are responsible. I don't think Pakistan is like a leopard who won't change their spots. So I don't think Pakistan will ever change until their entire army, which is the hub of terror, is giving proof to whom? Who are we giving proof to? To the Pak army. They themselves are the ones who ISI, well, of course their own organ, all these Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed, Hizbul Mujahideen, all kinds of facades, terror, the resistance front, Kashmir Tigers, nothing but they. And we are giving proof to them, and they would speak exactly the opposite of what we have given them. So they are in a perpetual denial. I don't think Pakistan will ever change unless I look at it this way, that the pressure from the people of Pakistan, which seems to be coming once the Indus Water Treaty, and once they start feeling the heat of it, that the water is there but not there at a time when they want it. I think that is what will pinch them, because that is the one that gives them 24% of the GDP, almost 50% of the labor employed there, almost 78% of the agriculture produce that comes from there. That Indus Water Basin, which irrespective and despite we being shot at over the years since 47, and we continue to be so magnanimous since 1960 till date, irrespective of whatever it is, and even gave waters from our rivers also. Ravi, Byas and Satluj, our waters of the eastern rivers are ours, but we still keep giving it to them. I think it's time that Pakistan realizes that they can't, water and blood can't flow together. They have to mend their ways.
Absolutely. Professor Kumar, some describe Pakistan as an army with a state. Now, that said, what stood out also from the Operation Sindoor Indian strikes in Pakistan and POK was that many of those locations were located in the so-called Punjabi heartland, which from where Pakistani army draws its sustenance from. Now, knowing General Asim Munir, his strategic calculus, his orientation, some people believe that he will retaliate, and it's inevitable that he will retaliate because of his domestic compulsions, ideological compulsions. Where do you see, this initiative going from here, and how should India respond to it, if at all, General Asim Munir, tends to escalate it further?
Well, Pakistan might do exactly the same thing, that it might engage in some kind of symbolic retaliation. It will also try to internationalize the issue, saying that how, creating some fake images and saying that how civilians were, etc., were killed and damaged. So that is the Pakistan strategy, but it will certainly engage in some kind of retaliatory strike. Let's be ready for that. The reason being that Pakistani army is not a trusted army today. There is a lot of conflict between the politician and the army and government both are not trusted by the people. So to restore that kind of trust, and what is happening in Balochistan that you already know. So to kind of organize, to unite, to send a message to its own domestic constituents, Pakistani army will have to show that it has taken proportionate action against India. Now, what kind of action they will take, we don't really know. But yes, Indian army is more than ready for it, I can assure you for that. And there is a huge asymmetry in terms of military power, in terms of economic power, in terms of diplomatic support that we have from the other countries. So there is nothing much to worry, but we have to be alert and ready. Because the retaliation can come from several fronts. So yeah.
General Kulkarni, Moody's ratings report recently said that given Pakistan's state of economy, it cannot afford a conventional, full-fledged, all-out war with India. Now, that said, do you think there is scope for Pakistan to actually retaliate against what India did this morning? Do you think the generals there in Pindi would not realize that the viability of Pakistan as a state that you and I know about it, will be threatened or will be in doubt if India actually takes the next step and retaliates to the misadventures going forward?
See, even to the previous question, Pak army has been a selfish army, a self-centered army, only wanting to gain themselves, having a Fauji foundation which has over $30 billion of income coming from their own. The government of Pakistan probably spends only $10 billion on maintaining their army of about 5.5 lakhs, but they themselves earn over $30 billion. So they are really not bothered about their men. That doesn't bother them at all, of their countrymen, whatever it be. They can starve, they can die, because most of these officers have their families abroad. The last chief also is not in Pakistan. All the chiefs have settled abroad. And Musharraf probably he came back only to be buried in Pakistan, because I'm sure that country would have refused to bury him. So he's been brought to Pakistan to bury him. So you find that this kind of an attitude of an army which has a country to itself. Most in the world, the countries have an army, and here's an army which has a country. And that too, army which has over 95% Punjabis. It has virtual, very little representation of the Pathans. It has very little representation of the Mohajis, of the Sindhis, of the and all of them. So you find that Baluchi is not there. So many of this kind of a combination, except of course Yahya Khan was a Pathan, Ayub Khan was a Pathan, but most of these, three of them I said were Mohajirs, and then all others were Punjabis in between. So there is a lot that happens there, and their acceptance is a major this thing, because Munir himself, if Imran was the Prime Minister, Munir would not have become the Chief of the Army Staff. Right. They never saw eye to eye, and some of them almost considered him to be half mad, not a person who ought to become the Chief of the Army Staff. So that is the kind of reputation, and as I said, he is more of a Sayyid, Hafiz, Maulana Munir. So that's the way he goes about it, and that is where it is. So I don't think the Pakistan army is fit enough to fight a conventional war, because Bajwa, the one before Munir, said very clearly that he went in for a ceasefire with India, with the view that there were no diesel for the tanks. That was what he himself said. There was no diesel for the tank, and that if he wanted to root out insurgency in Balochistan, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, the only way he could pull out troops from here and push it there. Now again, the troops have to come back on the Western Front. So Pakistan logistically not more than 4 to 5 days. That is Najam Sethi, who in one of his interviews himself said they have only about a max of week that they can last. After that they will be finished, and therefore there is no way a conventional war lasting longer than this. And I think India has been very restrained in not wanting to show Pakistan army in such a poor light, and therefore have not actually hit the military targets, not hit the civilian targets, but they have only hit the terrorist camps and hideouts and locations to convey a point. Otherwise, if Pakistan wants to accelerate and want to escalate it more than...
So the onus is on Pakistan and General Munir.
Absolutely. He is the man. He is one man who has started it, and since he has started it, it is for us now to end it. Either he throws the towel in the ring or he surrenders, or he gets knocked off by his own people there.
Exactly. Does he run the risk of being of alienating a large segment of Pakistan's population?
100%.
Does he run the risk of being ousted from power, for instance?
That's more like it, Ramesh, because over 250 officers are on the verge of putting in their papers. Similarly, about 3,000 odd men have decided not to join, because over 1,000 men have died fighting the Baluchis in Balochistan, resulting in Fazlur Rahman saying that the Pakistani flag does not fly in so many provinces of Balochistan, and the flag of Balochistan Liberation Army, and that all posts held by the army have been vacated, all posts held by the police have been vacated. So this is what Fazlur Rahman, I didn't know what was happening there till I heard Fazlur Rahman talking in the National Assembly. Not even outside on the press conference or something. He's talking in the National Assembly that this is the state of Pakistan. What are we all up to? So it's up to Munir. If he wants to destroy Pakistan as a muhajir, he is welcome. We must destroy Pakistan as a muhajir.
Indeed. Professor Kumar, I want to draw your attention and that of our viewers to what Minister Jaishankar said in his official response on social media platform X a couple of hours ago. He spoke about how the world should support or have zero tolerance for terrorism. In that context, from a diplomatic perspective, do you see the possibility or the need for India to rally countries around the world, especially the G7 countries who are leaders of the FATF, the Financial Action Task Force, for instance, or ask agencies to cut funds to Pakistan, to starve them of much needed funds given the state of the economy? Do you think India should further tighten the noose around Pakistan's neck and not give Pakistani generals any benefit of the doubt just yet?
Absolutely. One of the most important role that India can play is try to completely isolate Pakistan from the at least G7 countries. I don't think China can ever be isolated from Pakistan the way everything is linked with China. But yes, there is a possibility that you can convince the G7 countries at this moment, because your ties are much better with those countries compared to Pakistan. And the kind of the policies that United States or UK, for instance, they used to have in during the Cold War period, so that has completely changed now. The narrative has also changed, and they know that India is a victim, and without any reason. We have not been provoking Pakistan. There was a ceasefire, and we all were trying to restore ties, and normalcy was being restored. Economic trade was increasing with the two countries, and then you decide to attack the innocent civilians in Kashmir. So we have to mobilize the G7 countries, and this attack also took place when Vice President of United States J.D. Vance was here, and Prime Minister Modi was going to visit Saudi Arabia. So what Pakistan was planning? Pakistan was planning to divert the attention of the international media. So the focus would not be on J.D. Vance, the focus would shift to Kashmir and terrorism. Unfortunately, that policy of Pakistan has backfired. And even the US knows, even the J.D. Vance says that India is justified to take action to the extent that is proportionate and only to the terrorist. So I think there is a possibility of pressurizing United States also to align its policy on Kashmir with India. Same with the UK. Just yesterday we signed the free trade deal with with UK, and UK knows how important is India in today's time when the European countries are facing economic crisis, and Pakistan cannot come to the rescue of UK and other countries. So from that context, I think there is a huge possibility that even these countries, France, UK, US, etc., and Japan is already there. So they would like to have much better understanding of Kashmir from India's perspective rather than supporting Pakistan, which they used to do earlier.
Indeed. General Kulkarni, assuming of course that General Munir would like to respond to these strikes, given his strategic calculus or thinking or his mindset, the only three options before him is to target civilian, economic or military targets in India, which India has not done. India says we have only targeted terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan and Pakistan occupied Kashmir. Now, assuming General Munir will respond and he can target economic or civilian or military targets in India, how would India respond then? Would it see as another escalatory ladder and respond in kind, or you think India has multifarious options or scenarios to deal with any eventuality going forward?
See, Ramesh, we have many options on the table, and at this point of time, it is in the interest of Pakistan that they do not raise that heat or escalation and take that wanting to commit yet another mistake of wanting to strike India.
Right.
Because India has not struck Pakistan. India has struck the terrorist locations. So there is a difference. When now they strike, they will be striking India. Right. If they strike India, then India has all the options open to strike them. So it is up to them. What is it that they want? It's very, very important that Pakistan shows restraint, because we have shown restraint. Unless until they want to show to the world that they are much, that they have said a number of times that they are not in a case connected with terrorism, but this will prove that they are a part of terror. They are the ones who are perpetrators of terror, and they are the ones who are the hub of terror, just not against India but the entire world. Any terrorist activity that you see in the world, anything, even if what has happened in Russia in 2023, you will find that the wire leads to Pakistan. Even if it is the Tajiks who are there, the wire goes to Pakistan, because Pakistan provides logistic support. Pakistan provides them, as they did to Osama bin Laden. So Pakistan has to change. If Pakistan refuses to change, then I think Pakistan will be taught a lesson by the entire world, and that is very, very important, because Pakistan is not a normal nation, and that normal nation it wants to be, but it can't be, because it has taken terrorism as the foundation of its this thing of a nation. So that is not what a nation is. If you are only exporting terror, then you are bound to suffer. So, but your question remains: if Pakistan does what it wants to retaliate, the retaliation from India will be there, and there that would be difficult for them to control.
Could it be disproportionate as well?
Yeah,
or would we insist on a proportionate response?
See, I wouldn't say proportionate, it would be much more.
In severity.
We'll have to give it much, much more, because this is a very restrained kind of a thing, which has actually just a messaging of deterrence, stay away. But if Pakistan doesn't want to stay away, then there will be disproportionate response, and then of course what it leads to, that is a different this thing. But as a nation where we believe in ensuring that world peace and everything, and find we are a democracy, but if Pakistan doesn't, so be it. Pakistan be given tit for tat, and they understand that language. That's another thing, Ramesh. Or however nice we might be diplomatically, not wanting to say something wrong, but they don't believe in it. They believe in tit for tat, and that is what it is. So we should give it.
Absolutely. Professor Kumar, now in the last several hours after Operation Sindoor was launched and executed, we've heard from several key world capitals, including Washington DC, including Tel Aviv for that matter. We also saw the manner in which the UN Security Council discussed this issue, but no resolution was adopted or passed after that meeting, after discussions. And in fact, most UNSC permanent members were skeptical, and they remain skeptical of Pakistan's claims on Pahalgam attack and India's response to that. Do you get a sense that slowly but steadily more countries and capitals around the world are coming around to India's view that India's patience is not inexhaustible, India will retaliate, India will impose costs in Pakistan, and it's be justified in doing so?
Absolutely, one of the main concerns of the international capital, I mean the global powers, is that it should not lead to broader escalation, because these two countries are nuclear powers, and they will also jeopardize the regional security. That's what their concern is from Washington's perspective. So far as United Nations Security Council is concerned, let me tell you that it cannot rally around Pakistan at this moment, because we have Russia, US will also not go against India, so will UK and France. France, provider of fighter aircraft, etc. So I don't think that Pakistan, even as a non-permanent member there, it can mobilize a meeting, but it cannot get resolutions passed against India. Number one. Second, even if, say for instance, hypothetically, this is not going to happen, but hypothetically, even if that happens, UN has become almost a defunct body, and UN can never act against a country like India. It cannot act in a country like Russia, for instance. So I do not have any concerns about the United Nations Security. Yes, we do believe in multilateralism, we do believe in rule of law. So we respect United Nations, and we want United Nations to take a very strong action against Pakistan, which is perpetrator of supporter of terrorism. But unfortunately, UNSC is not in position to do anything against it, and UNSC is divided on the issue because China supports Pakistan. So even the issue that one of the questions that you raised earlier, that why India is not able to build a consensus on the issue of terrorism, because even in the UNSC you have China, which will not support the case of India. Because of political reason, not because of the other reasons. So because of that, I think at the moment, till now, I can tell you that most of the Western capitals will favor India, because only the place from where they'll start departing a bit would be when there is a real escalation of a war. But at this moment, I don't see a real chance of war happening between the two countries. So I think West would be fine with that.
General Kulkarni, just for the benefit of viewers who might not be familiar with the intricacies of the issue at hand here, could you just inform our viewers, be they in the US or West or any other world capital for that matter, do the Pakistani generals appreciate and understand that if push comes to shove, India will not shy away from, as you mentioned, taking more severe action, severe steps, possibly including the option of dismembering Pakistan? Given the insurgencies that abound in Pakistan, you spoke about Balochistan, you spoke about the Pashtun discontent. We have situation among the minorities in Pakistan, be they Ahmadis or Shias or even Hindus for that matter. Given the problem that Pakistan faces at home and its economy not doing well, do you think it realizes the import of or the consequences of its misadventures?
I think if you look at, we've named it Operation Sindoor.
Sindoor.
What an apt name for an operation. Itself shows the purpose of that operation. And we haven't gone beyond it. And we showed tremendous restraint. All that we've done is that all those poor ladies who have lost their husbands, and sons, brothers, everyone, for them, this is being launched as to restore not the Sindoor, it is their honor. True. And that make them feel good that they are citizens of this country, and should someone do like this, the retaliation will be strong.
Indeed.
And restraint. That is what the Prime Minister has done. So far, it is Operation Sindoor. But should Pakistan decide to raise it and hit back, wanting to show revenge or things of this kind, then it will be Operation Badla, Operation Barbad. That's the way, then Sindoor is over. This is Sindoor, it's over. We've done it, we are not going beyond it, and that's end of everything. Right. So Sindoor is over. Now if Pakistan does, then we'll change to Operation Badla, Barbad, whatever we want to do depending upon what Pakistan does. So it is up to them. They have to realize it. They are the ones who are the perpetrators. They are the ones who started the whole thing. So they have to face the consequences. So right now, the apt operation, so named, tells you that what it really conveys and what is it that we want. We could have named anything else, but we said Sindoor, and which was a very, very apt. I think it's a such kind of a naming of an operation and executing an operation. It's really very difficult. As a military man, I can tell you, it's extremely difficult to show so much of restraint, to put it within it, and at the same time convey, deter, and not cause collateral damage, not cause any damage to military establishments, civilians, this, that, and everything. Very, very difficult. Indeed. And this all could be done because of the technology. It could well be done because of the information. It also because we know now how to execute it, and all of it is there. Nobody can lie. Everything is there for us to see. You're showing it. The visuals of yours are adequate. Imagine it has happened so far away, and we are able to show in Doordarshan what exactly has happened to the entire world. So I think it's Sindoor, and Sindoor is over.
Indeed.
Now Pakistan wants to do anything.
So now it's up to Pakistan to decide.
It's all Pakistan. Pakistan is now, the ball is in Pakistan's court.
Indeed.
Now it is up to them. They want to start something. We are ready for whatever eventuality it may.
Indeed.
No problems.
Indeed. Professor Kumar, another aspect that we have not touched so far in this, in our discussion is the attitude of the Western media or Western press. Now, just this morning, when we were walking into the studio, some of the Western television networks, including the more established ones, all headline, India attacks Pakistan, India strikes Pakistan. Nowhere was the word retaliation or retaliates or the Pahalgam terror attack mentioned. Do you think this reeks of hypocrisy in a very rigid mindset which is not open to understanding the situation from a more Indian or South Asian perspective, if I may put it that way? Or are they guilty of being victims of their own prejudices?
Without any doubt, there are both prejudices as well as hypocrisy. If you see, say for instance, one of the most famous journals, or the Economist, and I'm taking the name.
Sure.
So they are saying what? They are saying that first India should show the evidence and then it should take the action. Now, can I ask the Economist what evidence was provided by United States when it took the action in Iran, or say for that matter even in Afghanistan? No. So that's the hypocrisy, and you do not expect that kind of hypocrisy to change. In this kind of incidents, that where you had the innocent people being killed and you are